Welcome to Sage Audio. Today let's look at how to make a clear mix in 10 steps. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Start with high-pass filters. These are all the steps that I take in my personal mixes to achieve mix clarity, but let me know in the comments if you have some useful tips as well. Now, high-pass filters are so rudimentary that we often forget just how useful they can be. In short, I'll find any signal that's contributing to a muddy or unclear sound and introduce a high-pass filter to right below the fundamental. Now, this reduces unnecessary and unmusical low frequencies. Stick to 6 dB per octave to 12 dB per octave slopes to avoid aggressive changes to the phase of these filters. Now let's take a listen to these filters being applied and notice how the mix starts sounding clearer already. Sidechain kick on the bass. Another simple but really useful technique that I like to use is to insert a compressor on the bass and sidechain the kick, so that the bass is compressed whenever the kick is present. Now, if you're dealing with a full drum track and you can't access just the kick, you can isolate the triggering to the low frequencies. Now, in the next chapter, we'll look at a more complex version of this, but let's take a listen to this method first. If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Advanced sidechain kick on bass. In modern music, usually with 808s, it's difficult to isolate attenuation to just the transient. Now, we could use super short attack and release times, but this doesn't always work and can cause unwanted distortion. Now, instead, we could create a ghost kick with a short transient and then sidechain that instead. Now, this ghost kick should match the original kick's performance, but instead of a sample or signal with a longer sustain, we use a short sample to ensure that only the transient of the kick attenuates the bass. Now, this might go without saying, but ghost tracks are always muted. So let's take a listen and notice how the bass is attenuated less, but the important aspect of the kick still cuts through. Sidechain vocal on instrument bus. For this step, I send all of my instruments that aren't drums, bass, or vocals to a single bus, then I insert a compressor on this bus. Next, I sidechain the lead vocal and subtly attenuate this instrument so that the vocal sits on top of these competing frequencies. Now, this results in a more balanced relationship between the instruments and the vocal and ultimately makes the mix sound clear. Let's take a listen. Reduce 250 Hz on various instruments. Similar to Chapter 1, we could use EQs and a simple filter to achieve mixed clarity. Simply reduce 250 Hz by a couple of dB with the bell filter on your instruments. This works well on guitar, vocals, synth, strings, pianos, drum overheads, and other instruments with low mids. Now, attenuating this frequency reduces masking to higher frequencies, which results in a clearer mix. Let's take a listen. Dynamically boost 3.5 kHz. 3.5 kHz, give or take 1 kHz in either direction, is responsible for our perception of clarity. Now, last chapter, we reduced 250 Hz to lessen masking on this range, but we could also boost it to increase the effect. Now, I like to use a dynamic EQ for this and amplify the range slightly. Now, with certain processors like the Pro Q3 or the Shade EQ, you could sidechain a competing signal and have the range boosted whenever that signal is present. But let's take a listen to a regular dynamic band at 3.5 kHz. Today's video is brought to you by Patrick Von Gobel, a talented and versatile guitarist that specializes in guitar solos and high-quality recordings. On his Fiverr page, you'll notice what he charges for 3 guitar solos and that you retain the copyright for these solos. So check him out using the link in the description, and let's take a listen to his playing. Varying saturation on each instrument. Using identical saturation settings on various instruments can cause cohesion, but it could also cause a mix to lack clarity since we're generating harmonics at the same frequencies for just about everything. Now that said, let's use different saturators on different signals to keep it varied and give everything some space. Now this is going to balance out the frequency spectrum and give everything a distinct timbre. Let's take a listen and notice how each affected signal sounds a little clearer. If you're enjoying the channel, use the search box to watch more of our videos. Sidechain vocal with full mix. If I change the output of all of my buses, excluding the vocal, to a single bus, then I'm able to process the collective instrumentation and the vocal separately. Now this comes in handy when I want to clarify the vocal or have it sound slightly separate from the rest of the mix. I'll insert Soothe 2, a resonance reducer, on my vocal and sidechain this collective bus. This is going to attenuate any aggressive overlap between the two, then I'll compensate for the gain reduction via the output. Let's take a listen and notice how when we reduce aggressive overlapping frequencies, our mix sounds clearer. Mix bus EQ for clarity. On the same instrumental bus that I created last chapter, I'll insert a mid-side EQ and do some overall tone shaping to increase clarity. Now on the mid image, I can subtly amplify 3.5 kHz and dip a little of 250 Hz, then I'll boost a little of 250 Hz on the side image. Now although mix air is a little different than clarity, we could still boost this with a high shelf on the side, and it should add a small amount of clarity as well. So let's take a listen to how these changes create a clear overall mix. Collective clarifying reverb send. Last up, I occasionally like to send all of my tracks or buses to a collective parallel auxiliary track on which I've inserted a reverb. Now I'll make sure that the reflections have a higher frequency, and I'll keep the reverb shorter, usually around 1 second. Then I'll blend the effect in with the auxiliary track's channel fader. Let's take a listen to how this high frequency reverb creates cohesion, but also a clear sound. If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.